Mal, from a coaching point of view, Trent Robinson, the philosophy that he had to bring into this semi-final playbook, questions over losing your star half. No, you've lost your regular starting hooker. Victor Radley's not 100%, obviously. And the fact that the Roosters had been a little patchy at times through the year, there had been a little bit of criticism, but Robbo always gets the timing right. And he enjoys the challenge from a coaching perspective when things are tough. This is when he leans in a little bit harder. What would you say to Trent Robinson and the way he approached this and got this team together and got the belief going?
Well, he built that game on foundation. So he built the game on hard running and good kicking game, good kick chase game, and just put the opposition down in their end. And then obviously their line speed and their defence was really good. He shows faith in people, So there's a lot of banter around, Sandon Smith through the week, but I thought he was pretty good tonight, and I thought Keary, game managed it really well. But through their intent, those basic things that you need in a game, so run hard with good support, quick play the ball. Then they've just got the men to be able to take advantage of that. The Tedescos and Connor Watson go down a dummy half, and when Manu comes in and starts to weave his magic down midfield. Those sort of things come off the back of just basic footy. And getting that right and making sure the play the ball speed is up there all the time, is quick, and then obviously the guns get off the back of that.
I'm only guessing here, but I imagine Trent Robinson's mind's already gone to the Melbourne Storm because if you look at it right now, if they want to win the comp, they've got to go the really hard way and take down. Assuming that Penrith Sharks fall the way it thinks it's going to fall, that it'd be a tough couple of weeks for the Roosters to do what they want to do, but I think the mindset flicks already to what is next week. How do you break down, recover from this, learn the lessons and move on to what happens for the Melbourne Storm?
The first 23 seconds of this game was one of the most brutal that we have ever seen in the NRL. I don't know what Trent Robinson said to them before they ran out, but this set the tone, this set the intent, and this set the physicality.
I reckon the leadership group would have come with this, Ronnie, honestly. Having, Jared back, obviously Victor back, I think they would have come with that intent. They knew they had to put that performance in, and they did it, So they've got more experience than the opposition. They just tore into the opposition's forward pack, which they have to do next week against the Storm. Yeah. And if they can do that like they did tonight, they're in a great chance of winning it. So, but it come off the back of, I think, the leadership group and, their intent and how they led the side tonight.
Poor old Tolly Collar. They should have just let the centre know, just stay out of this one and we'll get the big boys in. I mean, he went in there. You've got to
leave Jared alone.
Plenty of courage.
Yeah.
Jared did catch...
Mr Hargraves, just straight through there.
Just find yourself in another position. You did a career out of it and you still
I'd be still on the sideline.
The body count from Jared Hargraves over a career of 300-plus games, and he still plays right on the red line.
Yeah, I think the Roosters won that contact little mini battles, but I think Manly were right up for it. It's just the carnage cost them early on. I thought Olakalatu was terrific defensively, so there's no doubt that Seabold had wound his team up too. And you have to in these moments because they've got a lot of confidence out of beating the Dogs the other week, but to take down the Roosters physically, they had to start. It's just they fell on the wrong side of a couple of
That's why I said they were rattled early after that, because Jake come off the field, obviously, and he's their forward leader, and he's the man in the middle that's going to put those big hits on. He's going to clean up for those middles, and they missed him for 15 minutes, and they scored some tries, and they just fatigued the opposition's pack, and then he comes back on, and he couldn't stem it either. So I think their start, the Roosters start off the back of what happened last week was what the doctor ordered for them.
Just having a look at those match stats there, and as we mentioned, 45 missed tackles from Manly, and they were just made to work for it the entire game. James Tedesco, on a significant night for the club and a significant night for their captain, he put on an elite 80 minutes.
Yeah, he's played a lot of good games in his 250 games, but I think that's in his top 5. The way that he went to the contest, set up the first try, scored a couple himself. He did the hard yards from the back end of the field. He had that skill and ability to finish off things at the other end. He was the everywhere man, and when that physicality and fatigue kicked in, he struck. I thought it was a 10 out of 10 performance from Tedesco.
You can't question his ability, honestly. Even after that, even before that, Vonnie, but, mate, he's a super player and a great leader, and 250th game and put in a performance like that in a major game and to make the difference. And, it was an extraordinary performance. And that's what he's capable of. He does it most weeks, but people just don't see that.
You say you can't question Tedesco's ability, but it has been a topic of conversation at some point throughout this year. Fairly or unfairly, people wanted to see more from Teddy, maybe because he has set the standard so high over so long and such an incredible career. They wanted to see him back to his best. I think he answered all that and more, even before tonight, but tonight was exceptional. Yeah,
and he gets criticised, obviously, when he goes up into rep footy and, the team's lost. We lost last year, with the Kangaroos in the Pacific Championships final, and then obviously, losing game one this year again and losing Origin again last year, and they've got to pick a foil. They've got to pick on someone that's, that's what the media do, that's what we do, and we've got an opinion. I'm part of that, so we've got an opinion, and you've got to look at, some of the weaknesses in a footy team, and he's the one that seems to get picked on the most.
The game is glittered with some superstar fullbacks. I mean, that's the other thing. It's a hotly contested position. I mean, we talked about Trbojevic before the game. We haven't touched on Edwards or Pappenhausen, and the list goes on. Kalen Ponga and what we've seen from him, Reece Walsh. Yeah. But, I mean, Tedesco's been at the top for so long. And then when there is some losses that happen, whether it be in the final last year to the Aussies or, in the Origin arena, that's when the questions do come out. I don't think they question the style of player that James is, because, I mean, he's unbelievable. He's proven that. I guess the question is, can he do it in the sides when you need it? And he's doing that for the Roosters, and he has done it for a long period of time. But he's a super player.
Great to see Sandon Smith have a superior outing compared to last week. He was the one that, he wanted to take on more responsibility. He wanted to own a little bit more of those moments. He did that and more. He scored a try. He was hobbling a little bit towards the end, but he should be tickety-boo and ready to go next week. Yeah,
naturally when you're playing your first finals match at Penrith against Nathan Cleary in the opposite jersey, you're going to be a little bit sort of step back and standoffish, but he went to the contest tonight. That's all you can ask. I thought, this particular run here showed that he had an aggressive mindset. He looked outside, didn't hesitate to run, and then the big right foot to take on Tom said that he was in the right frame of mind to that. And normally, when you're in the right frame of mind, your body follows and other things come off the back of it. But I thought with Tedesco being the star, I thought Sandon and Luke Keary played that foil. And that's what a good spine does. When one's gunning, let him go and sit back and do your role. It's a bit like the Melbourne Storm spine. When one's on, they let him go. Then when another one steps back, one steps up. And I thought Sandon did some nice touches tonight.
It was really important that Keary was able to, dictate terms and take that pressure, as you just said, Coops, off Sandon Smith and not allow him to have to burden or feel that pressure of what the team was to do or not to do. So that was, really nice to see. Last week, he was put under a huge amount of duress defensively. I think he missed 11 tackles or something. I mean, completely different scenario in this contest. So I've got no doubt, yes, he's got a great running game, but the talk all week, and you hear Cooper and all the good halves talk about it, is get into the physicality defensively and the rest will come to it. He was far better in that area this evening.
Yeah, quick learner. So that's a pretty good sign, honestly, a quick learner. And obviously a bit to do him at the Roosters, Cooper, but I mean, one so young to come up with a defensive effort like he did tonight, off the back of what he did last week, shows he's a great learner and he's got a pretty bright future in front of him. Luke
Keary, is he going to miss him when he's gone?
Yeah, he did a good job tonight. I think, Cherry Evans was under pressure a lot. He had 27 tackles. And the key to that is it was a match-up between Ola Kalatu and Angus Crichton, whoever could attack the opposite half. And I think Angus Crichton got back to doing some of his best footy. And that was a strong left side from the Roosters tonight. The Swaliti, Crichton, Tedesco kept bobbing up, Keary being the orchestrator. They went that way.
The way they pulled apart, DCE's side, it was obviously a tactical plan. At different stages, Daly's come up out of the defensive line. Crichton has done a few, like the old-fashioned run around, which then created some space off the back of DCE coming up. So they've done some pretty studious, work during the week to identify that, okay, Garrick's sort of not spent long in the centres. He's got some instability. We've seen what DCE can do. If we can execute these plays coming into it, we may get a bit of joy. And they got joy early parts of that first half, and it just didn't stop. I mean, so often we see teams go away from it. They continually stayed at it.
Angus Crichton has just gobbled up every big game all year. It is just remarkable, his appetite for the moments, the contact, the responsibility, everything. He wears it so strongly.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think this guy here started this season in New South Wales Cup, Von. That's the reality of it. He's obviously worked extremely hard on himself, both on and off the field, and you know, he's come into the fold. He's worked hard, and he's, you know, this is not, you know, they'd signed David Fafita at one point. He was on the outer. See you later, alligator, and he's back in.
Which is what triggered Angus.
He's been the crocodile.
Best. Yeah, wild crocodile. That's
See
it.
you soon, me big baboon.
He goes on to get the Wally Lewis medal. He has an instrumental play in what, you know, what New South Wales are able to do. But where he's at right now, like, when you're in a really good patch of form, or you know the sort of player you are, the game seems to flow a lot easier. And he's in that bit right now. I mean, it doesn't matter what time the game is, what's on in the game. He's at the forefront on it. He's ahead of it. He's not behind it, chasing his tail. He's a pivotal player for them.
Of the 4 teams left, is he the form back rower?
Well, there's a few good ones.
I know. Well, I know. They're the 4 best teams. I know.
He's in the conversation, Von. He's in the
When I
conversation.
see highlights of back rows dominating halfbacks, I get a rash and cold sweats.
PTSD.
Ola Kalatu, you know, Martin can do it. Nickera, like, they can do it. I think a strong back rower is a half's dream to be able to play with. And I thought the fact that he probably got his colours lowered last week against Nathan Cleary at Penrith. Then he stood up again against Cherry Evans. Well, look at on the other side of the field, you're going to have Jerome Hughes standing opposite you again this week. So he keeps got to rise to that challenge and keep getting better, because this is the pointy end of the year that you all want to be playing. And unfortunately, all the best players just converge on prelim final football.
The thing I've observed, certainly on edge back rows and Angus this year, is his aggressiveness.
Yeah.
The way he's played the game, like he's gone to the game, like he's aggressive everything he does. He runs hard, he tackles hard, he hates being tackled, he's pushing players off, he's got offloads. If they get at him, he's aggressive with his talk. And that's what you want to see in your back rows. You know, you got the Liam Martins and Katoas and all those sort of guys. So they're big, aggressive human beings who love the contact, you know, and love getting stuck in.
Well,
the little halves.
It's unfair.
Speaking of loving the contact, no one does it better than Jared Waerea-Hargreaves. And he is in his last few days now as a Rooster. And I thought for sure he was going to get sin binned at some point tonight. But he played it perfectly. And Trent Robinson said now's not the time to get nostalgic, because we know that we all love Jared, and we know that he's going to go off to Super League, and you know, we love everything he's done for the Roosters, and he'll come back to us one day. He'll still be involved with the club always. But what he did tonight is things that only JWH can do.
Yeah, we like to talk up his red line and his ability to overboil and step over the mark, but I think he understands what he's got left in the Roosters jersey, how much he means to that team. It would have hurt him sitting on the sidelines last week and seeing what unfolded in that first 20 minutes against Penrith. Yes, he needs to step up. Yes, he needs to go after Nelson and his co next week, but he cannot risk being on the field for 10 minutes at a time. And, you know, give up the chance to maybe do something. So it's a juggling act for Jared, but if he gets it right, I tell you what, he's a very influential player.
Yeah, he controlled it well tonight, I felt. You know, even in the early pieces, you know, he had his bumpers up and things like that, but it wasn't a dangerous position, you know. So I thought he had the right mentality. Obviously, to stay aggressive, but you've got to be controlled. Yeah, so when you get into contact, you know, he gets stuck in. But I thought, you know, he handled himself really well.
Could be a little bit different next week, Von. Could be a little bit different once the red mist starts to descend. There at Amy Park, going after Big Nelson in a big game, the opportunity to go into a grand final. Things just happen. It just the little mind.
The noise works.
There's a bit of noise in between.
There's lots of noise.
And it all.
Are you speaking from experience?
A little bit. Yeah, a little bit.
Angus said over the last few weeks, Jared has been horrible to be around because he's been stewing on it, just desperate to get out there, sitting on the sidelines. He's a horrendous fan. All he wants to do is get part of the action. He's been starting fights at training. So he was right up for this. Thank God they released him, because he needed to get that game away.
Well, thank God for the Roosters and Jared that he got through the game.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody would have been more sort of on edge than the coaching staff or his teammates. But as Coop said, I mean, at some part, whilst there's a lot of red mist, there is a bit of footy smarts there. He understands he's got a role to play with his side. But part of that role, Von, is being that alpha male, being that player. And the fact that he was able to knock out Kohler in the first run, and obviously that wasn't his plan, but just to get nice and physical, that happened. And then the next run, we saw Jake go down. which then ignited their alpha in terms of Olakawad, who wanted to crease everyone, and that's how it all unfolded.
Yeah, the Roosters have got a lot of talented players, but in terms of spirit, I think Jared's right at the front of that queue.
Yeah.
And that moment is a spirit play, and it sets the agenda for what happens after that. If it's reversed, then the Roosters players like, oh, okay, our alpha male just got hit on his backside. So it's this fine balance between being that assertive, aggressive, I'm going to stand for a moment here for my friends, but not tipping over the line. Now, I got no idea what that line's like because I never went near it.
Only he knows it.
Exactly.
Only he knows. I mean, he's got plenty of experience. You know, he's been around a while, so he's played in these big games. You know, so he'll go at it again next week, but he wants to play in the grand final though too. You know, so I think he's smart enough. His footy IQ is good, and you know his leadership skills is great, and he'll lead with spirit, but hopefully within the controlled environment that the team needs him.